So next we have Friedrich Silvia Mataji or Sriji Mataji. Thank you so much. She's from ISKCON, Germany, and her current research is Shabda Praman or authoritative testimony to enhance our knowledge about the universe. The title of the talk is The Nature of Space-Time and the Evolving Universe. A little bit about Mataji. Sriji Mataji studied geology and natural sciences in La Plata University, Buenos Aires, Argentina, and performed research work at the University of Munich, Germany, in geochemistry and mineralogy. She has recently written a dissertation proposal, Astronomy and Cosmology of the Bhagavad Purana. Let's welcome Sriji Mataji.
Hare Krishna. I'm very honored to be a member of the Bhaktivedanta Institute, and I seek the blessings of so many exalted Vaishnavas assembled here. I welcome all of you to this session. So I would like to speak about the means of acquiring knowledge. There are three means of acquiring knowledge, or pramana as they are called. The sense perception, or pratyaksha praman, is direct sense perception. Inference, or anumana praman, is to use reason. And verbal testimony, or sabda praman, is an authoritative testimony. Of these three pramanas, sabda praman is imperative, while pratyaksha and anumana are supportive. All human beings are subject to four defects. We are all committing mistakes, we all have imperfect senses, we are all subject to illusion, and we all have a cheating propensity. Sense perception, therefore, is not the best means for gaining knowledge. And for knowledge of what exists beyond our senses, it is entirely useless. Inference is equally unreliable because reasoning rests on sense perception. Modern scientific experiments and proofs are based on direct perception of the senses, being this method unreliable because the sense organs have a limited range. The theories and knowledge of modern science are subject to change, referring to a relative truth. There is an absolute truth, however, that is fixed, eternal, and never changes. Sabda praman, or verbal testimony, is the most reliable means of acquiring knowledge, because it is the only method that can deliver knowledge free of all human defects. Verbal testimony, or sabda praman, is of two types. One kind we are familiar with depends on the testimony of experts such as doctors and authorities such as teachers. None of these sources is exempt of the four human defects. Therefore, the second type of verbal testimony, called a paruseya shabda, has no human origin. It is revealed knowledge coming to us from the spiritual world. Such superhuman knowledge has no taint of the four defects of human beings. This knowledge is found in the Vedas. Originally, the Vedas were not written by any man or group of men. They emanated from Vishnu, who revealed them to Lord Brahma, the first created being, who then passed them down. As the Vedas are not subject to the four kinds of defects, the original message of the Vedas has not been changed. The Vedas are the best candidate for a source of perfect knowledge. Therefore, a paruseya shabda praman, or the evidence of transcendental knowledge, is a means of knowledge. Vishnu imparts Vedic knowledge to Brahma, the first created being, at the dawn of creation, and Brahma, empowered by this knowledge, proceeds then with the work of creation. Knowledge spreads out through a parampara or disciplic succession along with the generation of man. Veda means knowledge. Originally preserved through oral tradition, the Vedas were first put into writing 5,000 years ago by Srila Vyasadeva for Kali Yuga. Vedic knowledge is absolute, existing in the spiritual world where the Vedas in person serve the supreme person of Godhead, the supreme personality of Godhead. The Vedas assert that objects beyond material nature cannot be known experimentally, and that the best process for acquiring knowledge is Shabda Praman, or authoritative testimony conveying knowledge free of all defects. Now I'm going to speak about space. The term space-time used by modern scientists refers to time and three-dimensional space regarded as fused in a four-dimensional continuum. Space is measured in length, width, and height, and time is the fourth dimension that explains a new relation between these two concepts. It was Einstein's teacher, Hermann Minkowski, who suggested space-time in a 1908 essay. Space in the material world is three-dimensional, but in the spiritual world, space is higher dimensional. Puranic cosmology asserts that whatever is created in this material world is but the interaction of two energies, the material and the spiritual, which emanate from the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. Krishna's effulgence, Brahma Yodi or Brahman, provides the space for innumerable eternal spiritual planets, the Vaikuntha Lokas, and 1/4 of this Brahma Yodi or spiritual sky is covered by the material manifestation known as the Mahatattva, where material universes are created and destroyed according to a scheduled time. The Brahma Yodi represents the eternal time factor or such figure of the absolute truth. In its nature of eternity, the Brahma Yodi is unlimited, always expanding and accommodating. Sariputta Prabhu Richard Thompson wrote in his book Vedic Cosmography and Astronomy that to understand the Vedic conception of space, it is necessary to consider the position of Krishna as the absolute cause of all causes. From him, everything emanates, and space and time are his energies to assist him in the material and spiritual creations. Shri Krishna is to be known as Bhagavan, the personhood, Paramatma, or the super soul, expanding in the heart of every conditioned soul, and Brahman, his effulgence, where the whole creation, spiritual and material, rests. He writes also in his books that we can sum up the idea of dimensionality of space by saying that the greater the degree of access between locations, the higher the dimensionality of the space. Since Krishna has simultaneous access to all locations, he perceives space at the highest level of dimensionality. He introduces an idea of higher dimensional space that may help us understand the ideas about space implicit in the Vedic literature. The most fundamental feature of the Vedic idea of space is that many more things can be brought together than the rules of three-dimensional space allow. He has chosen the term higher dimensional to refer to this feature of the Vedic view of reality. Space on Earth is three-dimensional, but on other planetary systems in the universe, the term higher dimensional space has been introduced. Different living beings will perceive space at different levels of dimensionality, and thus they will have access to different sets of locations or locus. Krishna's situation is that he has full access to every location simultaneously. With one limited senses, one cannot argue about that which is inconceivable. Therefore, in Vedic literature, the inconceivable is called achintya. That which is beyond chintya, our thoughts and arguments. Achintya refers to that which we cannot contemplate, but we have to accept. Now I'm going to speak a little bit about the creation of space. Puranic cosmology describes that Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, entrusts the work of creation to his expansion Mahavishnu, who is Krishna's original work person. Mahavishnu lies on the causal ocean, which separates the material from the spiritual world, and starts with the work of creation. These 24 subtle elements, the pradhana, plus time. Space is produced to accommodate all the energies that function in the universe. Space is also called akash and comes from sound, saptamatra. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 7.4 that earth, water, fire, air, ether, or space, or sky, mind, intelligence, and ego are his material energies. The Brahmayoti is a spiritual space, Krishna's bodily effulgence. And in that Brahmayoti, there are countless spiritual planets. Just as within the sunshine, there are innumerable planets in the shining effulgence of the body of Krishna, there are innumerable planets called Vaikuntha Lokas. They are self-effulgent, eternal, and inhabited by four-armed living entities. The Brahmayoti is unlimited and ever expanding. The same statement in Brahma Samhita 5.40 is in the Bhagavad Gita 14.27. Lord Krishna is a background of the Brahmayoti. So the Brahmayoti is not independent or self-sufficient. Lord Krishna is ultimately the creator of the Brahmayoti, mentioned also as Svarochisa, or the effulgence of the transcendental body of the Lord. This Brahmayoti is all pervading, and all creation is made possible by its potential power. Therefore, the Vedic hymns declare that everything that exists is being sustained by the Brahmayoti. Therefore, the potential seed of all creation is the Brahmayoti. And this same Brahmayoti, unlimited and unfathomed, is established by Krishna. Therefore, Sri Krishna is ultimately the supreme cause of all creation. This it says in the Bhagavad Gita 10.8. Now I'm going to speak about time. Space and time are essential factors in the cosmic manifestation, as space provides the room for the creation to take place, and time records the creations and annihilations during the great breaths of Mahavishnu. While modern scientists work on a linear time, Puranic cosmology refers to a cyclical time of creation, maintenance, and destruction. of the universes and the whole material world, each following the other to complete a breath of Mahavishnu. Brahma's kalpas, or days, regulate the creation and destruction of each universe. And Mahavishnu's exhalation and inhalation control the creations and destructions of the whole material manifestation. In the material world, space is subject to creation and destruction, and time is divided in past, present, and future. In the spiritual world, though, space and time are eternal. Eternal time is certainly the controller of different dimensions, from that of the atom up to the superdivisions of the duration of Brahma's life. But nevertheless, it is controlled by the Supreme. The Puranic cosmology in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam defines space and time as two energies of Sri Krishna. No one knows where time began and where it ends, and it is time only which can keep a record of the creation, maintenance, and destructions of the material manifestation. This time factor is the material cause of creation. Time is considered the impersonal feature of Vishnu. Time can control only those who are bodily conscious, even up to Satyaloka or the other higher planets of the universe. Eternal time is the primeval source of the interactions of the three modes of material nature. It is unchangeable and limitless, and it works as the instrument of the Supreme Personality of Godhead for his pastimes in the material creation. Time represents Vishnu's activities. Now I'm going to speak a little bit about the creation of time. Mahavishnu is an expansion of second Sankarshan, coming from the spiritual world, and he is the creator of the material energy. He then glances over this material energy, or also called Durga, and injects in her, through Shambhu, the living entities who want to enjoy the material world separated from Krishna. Then time appears. In the absence of time, material energy is called pradana, or the subtle conglomeration of the 24 elements which constitute the material nature. When time appears, material energy is agitated and begins to manifest all the ingredients necessary for the creation. This material cloud is called Mahatattva, or the sum total of the cosmic intelligence. From this Mahatattva falls ego, intelligence, mind, the senses, earth, water, fire, air, and ether or space will manifest. The three modes of material nature are in this Mahatattva as well, and they are the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Time is measured in terms of its covering a certain space of atoms. The time covered by the sun in passing over an atom is called the atomic time. The complete calculation of the time of creation, maintenance, and destruction, measured in terms of the circulation of the total planetary systems until the end of creation, is called the supreme Kala. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 11, describes the Puranic calculation of time in detail. The smallest particle is called a paramanu. All the planets in the universe are of different types, and each is controlled by different Kala chakra, or schedule of eternal time. The time of the Earth planet is not applicable to other more elevated planets. In the higher planets like Svagaloka, the 12 hours are 6 months on Earth. and on Earth, and 4,300,000,000 years on Earth are 12 hours of Brahma in Satyaloka. 6 months comprise one complete movement of the sun from south to north, and the other 6 months comprise the movement of the sun from north to south. These 2 solar movements is one complete calendar year of the human being, and 1 day and 1 night of the demigods. The 100 years of Brahma's life are divided in 2 parts. The first half of the duration of Brahma's life is already over, and the second half is now current. According to Puranic accounts, we are now on the 20th Yuga cycle of the 7 Manvantara of the present day of Brahma, which began 2.3 billion years ago. Altogether, 453 Yuga cycles have already elapsed since this day of Brahma began. The Yuga cycle contains 4 Yugas, Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali. Time, or Kala, allows creations and destruction of matter. Annihilation of the material world takes place in 2 ways. A partial annihilation occurs at the end of every day of Brahma, and a total annihilation occurs at the end of Brahma's 100 years, or 311 trillions of years here on Earth. Now I'm going to speak about the evolving universe, the other subject. The best supported theory of modern scientists of our universe origin centers on an event known as the Big Bang. The theory was born of the observation that other galaxies are moving away from our own at a great speed in all directions, as if they had all been propelled by an ancient explosive force. The explosion started it all, and the universe grew from the size of an atom to encompass everything in existence today. When scientists talk about the expanding universe, they mean that it has been growing ever since its beginning with the Big Bang. In other words, the universe has no center, everything is moving away from everything else. The modern scientists still owe an explanation where that single atom came from. But anyway, scientists say that matter and energy are the 2 basic components of the entire universe. An enormous challenge for scientists is that most of the matter in the universe is invisible, and the source of most of the energy is not understood. How can we study the universe if we can't see most of it? 95% is the percentage of matter and energy in the universe that is currently unobservable. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami writes in his book Easy Journey to Other Planets that the perfection of material science will occur when it is possible for the material scientists to know the qualities of the antimaterial particle and liberate it from the material particle. Now I'm going to speak of the origin of the material universes. The Vedic scriptures describe the spiritual world as eternal and unlimited. Shri Krishna resides in his own planet, Krishnaloka. The supreme spiritual world is full of spiritual planets called Vaikuntha-lokas, where there is no anxiety. Each spiritual planet is ruled by an expansion of Krishna known as Vishnu, and they all possess 4 arms. The material world is like a cloud in the clear sky. The material sky, Mahatattva, is assembled in some corner of the vast and limited spiritual sky, which is dazzling in spiritual light through the effulgence of Brahman, or the Brahmayodi. This part of the spiritual sky, called the Mahatattva, is only an insignificant portion of the whole spiritual sky. Within this Mahatattva, there are innumerable universes collectively produced by the Karanodakashayi Vishnu, also known as Mahavishnu, who through his glands impregnates the material nature. The innumerable universes are generated from the skin holes of Karanodakashayi Vishnu, and in each one of the universes, Mahavishnu enters as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, the Vishnu for each universe. The material world is asat, or temporary. This Mahatattva covering has a beginning and an end. This cosmic manifestation is a mixture of matter and spirit, but the cause is the Supreme Brahman or Brahmayodi, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The material energy is Krishna's energy, but it is separated from him. The spiritual energy is also Krishna's energy, but it is not separated from him. As long as the Supreme Personality of Godhead continues to glance upon nature, the material world continues to exist, perpetually manifesting through creation the great and variegated flow of universal creation. Mahavishnu's exhalation is the entire span of creation, and Mahavishnu's inhalation is the entire span of annihilation. Matter itself has no creative power. Energy is not self-sufficient. So Krishna is the cause of matter and energy. Everything that is created is annihilated at a certain stage. Both the material body and the material world are created, and they are therefore subject to annihilation. The antimaterial particle, as Srila Prabhupada says in his Easy Journey to Other Planets, however, is never created, and consequently it is never annihilated. That is also corroborated in the Bhagavad Gita 2.20. So now I'm going to speak a little bit about the Brahmanda or universe. The difference between a Brahmanda, the material universe, and the Vaikuntha, the spiritual world planets, is that Vaikuntha lokas are self-manifested objects, while a Brahmanda is a created object. The creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the Brahmandas are under the jurisdiction of the material time factor, and the eternal existence of Vaikuntha is beyond the jurisdiction of time. In Puranic cosmology, the universes are called Brahmandas. This universe, as well as many other hundreds of thousands of universes, are each covered by sevenfold material coverings of water, fire, air, sky, ego, noumenon, and material nature. Just as a huge football pumped and covered floating in the water of the causal ocean were in the sorry, I have to repeat it again because I think I didn't say it right. That this universe, as well as many other hundreds of thousands of universes, are each covered by sevenfold material coverings, just like a huge football pumped and covered, floating on the water of the causal ocean, wherein Mahavishnu is lying. All the universes in seed are emanating from the breathing of the Mahavishnu, and all the universes presided over by the Brahmas vanish when the Mahavishnu withdraws his great breath. In this way, the material worlds are being created and vanished by the supreme will of Vishnu. When Garbhodakashaya Vishnu saw that within the universe there was only darkness and space without a resting place, he filled half of the universe with water from his own perspiration and laid himself down on the same water. This water is called Garbhodaka. Then from his navel, the stem of a lotus flower sprouted, and on the flower petals, the birth of Brahma, or the master engineer of the universe, took place. Brahma became the engineer of the universe, and he took charge of the maintenance of the universe as Vishnu. Brahma was generated from the mode of passion, and Vishnu became the Lord of the mode of goodness. From Brahma, there is Rudra or Shiva, who is in charge of the mode of ignorance or darkness. He destroys the whole creation by the will of the Lord. Therefore, all three, namely Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, are incarnations of the Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. From Brahma, the demigods and many other become incarnated to generate living entities within the universe. The Garbhodakashaya Vishnu is the Lord of the universe, and although he appears to be lying within the universe, he is always transcendental. The Vishnu, who is the plenary portion of the Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, the second Vishnu, is the super soul of the universal life. And he is known as the maintainer of the universe, or Kshirodakashaya Vishnu. So the three features of the original Purusha are to be understood. And all the incarnations within the universe are emanations from this Kshirodakashaya Vishnu. Avyakta means the night of Brahma. When partial annihilation takes place in the living entities of that particular Brahmanda up to the planets of Brahmaloka, along with the big oceans, etc., all repose in the abdomen of Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. At the end of a Brahma's night, the creation again takes place, and the living entities reserved within the abdomen of Vishnu are let loose to play their respective parts as if being awakened from a deep slumber. The lotus flower coming out of Garbhodakashaya Vishnu is a universal Virat form, or the gigantic form of the Lord in the material world. It becomes amalgamated in the personality of God Vishnu in his abdomen at the time of dissolution, and it becomes manifest at the time of creation. This is due to Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, who enters into each of the universes. In this form is the sum total of all the fruitive activities of the living entities conditioned by material nature. And the first of them is Brahma, the controller of the universe. He is generated from this lotus flower. He goes to sleep with Narayan, or Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, at the time of devastation. And when there is another creation, Brahma is born in this way. So, oh, I forgot about the pictures. I'm sorry. I just remember. These are the three Vishnus. Mahavishnu, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. Do you see the pictures?
No. And also, we have about 5 minutes, Mataji.
Yes, I finish in 5 minutes, but it's important that you see one picture, like I want to show you. Could you do something, or do I have to do?
You have to do share screen.
Yes, like that. So this moment, where are they? Was it? Can you see it now?
We see your Windows Explorer.
Oh.
You have to double click.
I don't see the pictures. Okay.
We see the thumbnails.
You see what?
We see the little pictures in your Windows Explorer, like IMG 6465 and so on.
This you can see?
We just see a little icon.
Yeah, but this is important to see. This is a unit. What can I do?
Double click on it.
No.
Or when you say share screen, you share your whole desktop, not just the...
New share, let me see.
Go ahead and stop sharing.
Maybe there?
Yeah, now we can see.
Okay. This is the day of Brahma. This is the universe around universe, Brahmanda. The Gabodaka ocean fills half of the universe. And there is a very rough schedule I did for this presentation. There is Anantashesha, the serpent-like couch of Lord Vishnu, Gabodakashaya Vishnu, and Brahma is born. No? And there is a lotus stem there, and Brahma is born. This is a day of Brahma, a kalpa. And I cannot do that. What? And what's happening? And this, can you see now?
No, it stopped sharing, so you have to share again.
I don't have nothing to share here. Well, the night of Brahma is when Brahma goes in, merges in Gabodakashaya Vishnu, and the whole universes. Now you see? No.
No.
Okay. This is also important. You see, I don't know what to do. There maybe?
Yeah, we see now.
Well, this is a very rough drawing where Brahma is on the lotus flower, and in the stem of the lotus flower are the 14 planetary systems. So I continue that the universe is divided into 14 planetary systems. 7 planetary systems are, the names is no, I have only a couple of minutes left. So there are 14 planetary systems, and they are located in the stem of the lotus. Brahma first creates 3 planetary systems called Triloka, Bhuloka, Bhuvaloka, and Svagaloka. And there are, after he creates 7 lower planetary systems for demons and materialistic living entities, and 4 above the 3 for sages and saintly persons. In the Satyaloka, the topmost planetary systems are the chief directors of the modes of material nature, namely Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva. In the planetary system known as Bhuloka, Bhumandala is situated, and Bhumandala consists of 7 islands and 7 oceans. And the first island in the center is called Jambudweep, and to the south is the Earth located. And Puranic cosmology describes the solar system as geocentric. That means that the sun and the planets circumambulate the Earth, which is fixed. And the sequence of the planets is Sun, Moon, 28 star constellations, Venus, Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, each separated by 200 yojanas or 1.6 million miles. Dhruva Local, the pole star, is 31 million miles away from the Earth, or 3.9 million yojanas. And the last to say is that the diameter of our universe, or the diameter of the stem, is 500 million yojanas, or 4 billion miles in diameter. So my presentation is coming to a natural end. I thank you very much for the opportunity to share this in this wonderful conference.